If you clicked on this video, then there's a good chance you're one of three people: a current AP 2D Studio student, a lovely art enthusiast, or both. Back when I was an AP 2D Studio student, I had no idea where to start. So I went looking for videos to guide me, but only grew more intimidated the more I looked. Most videos I found where the artist scored a 4 or 5 contained very realistic and detailed art styles that just weren't my cup of tea. In fact, it made me wonder if my cartoony, anime-esque style was even good enough. However, despite being lost from August to mid-October and having an unrealistic art style, I scored a 4 with my portfolio. And now I'm here to help you do the same and show that even a silly art style can score well. So let's jump right in. First off, where the hell do I start? For me, the biggest struggle was picking a theme. From August to late October, I hemmed and hawed ideas while working on other art projects instead. I tried pinpointing my specific type of style like my teacher had instructed, but that was a dead end. So I began compiling a list of things I was passionate about, and it was that which made something click. I have these characters I created as a child that explored themes of mental health. They each had names, backstories, etc. were my original work. The more I thought about them, the more I realized I could easily expand upon them and use that as my portfolio. Hence, I settled on the theme of adverse childhood experiences and how they impacted individuals' mental health. So one big piece of advice I have for you if you're working on a portfolio is pick something you already love. And if you already have some concepts developed, such as, your own silly little blurbos, don't be shy to use them. As long as it's your own original idea, then it's free game. Now with an idea in hand, we start the fun stuff, developing piece concepts. While rummaging through my bin of old art a few weeks ago, I came across thumbnail drawings I did for my portfolio. Frankly, I barely remember making half of them, so it was kind of cool to see what I was thinking at the time. For me, thumbnail drawings are a great way to organize my thoughts, especially with a big project like this one. It allows you to try different things, make variants of pieces you like, and just get ideas out without any real commitment to any one idea. Sketches are kinda similar, but for me that feels like way too much commitment if I'm still playing around. Long story short, during this phase you want to develop as many ideas as you can, since you need 15 pieces. However, there are some shortcuts you can take once you begin working on your portfolio. For me, I developed 12 original pieces, each of which I'm going to share with you along with their unfinished versions, and 3 pieces showing how I made 3 of those other artworks. For my portfolio, I did a lot of experimentation and digital manipulation, so I think it might be helpful to see both before and after the magic of editing. Additionally, it makes it easier to show what I did with different materials, since some of my pieces are made with separated parts. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Just a quick little content warning to everyone watching. Since this explores adverse childhood experiences and mental health, some scenes depicted may be triggering for some viewers. So for this first piece, I just showed my design process for one outfit for one of my characters. You'll see further into this portfolio and throughout the rest of it. The idea was primarily just to highlight my process, so I ended up using Google Slides and then taking photos of my process throughout and kind of recording what I did, how I did it. It's kind of all tied in since it showed how I made a piece or a part of a piece that is seen in the portfolio later on and deeply ties to like the story I'm telling and the characters the story is about. It's actually a great little cheat if you don't want to have to make 15 original pieces. You could pick a few pieces and be like, okay, I'm just going to show the creative process in this. And it's a great way to get points, get credit, and fill those slots without having to make 15 brand new things from scratch. I did a very similar thing for my second piece with Rosie. I basically showed how I made her entire character sheet, starting from the photo references I took of myself and modeled for, to the sketching process all the way to the line art and the flat color. This was kind of a great way to show them how do I work, how do I function, what do I do, how do I make sure things are anatomy accurate. Like with the previous one, I ended up using a Google slide, kind of putting everything in there, kind of just walking them through exactly what I did and how I did it. And then it kind of all connects back together because Rosie is a character that's seen throughout the rest of this portfolio. Stepping away from character sheets, I also decided to show my process with one of the drawings I did, kind of depicting a part in the story. This one was for a piece I called Broken Home. You didn't have to title your art pieces, but it just helped me keep organized. So I gave a lot of them little cute titles, or, well, I don't know if Broken Home is a cute title, but they all got little titles and nicknames I kind of referred to them as. Something interesting I really wanted to show with this one was how I did the shading. As you can see up in the right-hand corner, there's a very creepy drawing of a murder scene. And that one I thought was really cool because I used blue markers to do all the shading before I put on the color. And so I kind of showed how I did that with Broken Home as well, down in the lower right-hand corner. It was something that I knew they wouldn't know unless I told them, and so I thought it'd be really cool to show that I experimented with that kind of shading technique in this piece. That's another big tip, is you want to be able to do weird stuff. You want to try weird things. So being able to be like, hey, look, I did this really weird shading technique and it came out to be this really cool piece is honestly a good thing to do and kind of show that you're trying things, you're experimenting, you're getting out there, you're being creative. Honestly, in the end of the day, it's all about showing that a creativity, the exploration of materials or themes or all of that. They really just want to look at you doing new things and exploring. Now we get into the official finalized character sheets. First up is the one I did for my character Vita, who is supposed to be related to the Phoenix. This all kind of ties into the theme of her character with exploring identity and who she is, because phoenixes are reborn from the ash as the myth goes. I honestly love symbolism, so it was really fun to play with that with her design to figure out how I convey that in both her usual form and also her gem form, which I wish I used them more, but I did use hers in a piece, which made me really happy. It kind of ties into her overall story and her arc and all of that. I think this was one of my first full pieces I did in Procreate, because at the time I was still using Metabang and kind of switching over and learning, which is another part of exploration that I did. So I played around with a lot of brushes, the layers, the tools I had available, and came up with this fun little character sheet. A good thing with character sheets, if you're going to do one, is depict personality the best way you can. That's why I have all these little sketches of her and different expressions, different moods, and it was a good way to kind of showcase who she is. I did a very similar thing with the next character sheet, which features Darcy. Now, Darcy is kind of this shadow demon and also just has the ability to supercharge her like punches or her kicks and stuff like that. She also wields a scythe because she's just that badass, okay? Like, look at that slide with the scythe. You don't want to mess with her. When it came to her gem form, I definitely wanted to show off her more tomboyish, rougher personality, so I did like spiked cuffs and more dark colors to kind of show that edge and that kind of sharpness to her. I also included a little concept sketch of her original design that I made when I was like 12. I've had these characters for a very long time, but I thought that would be kind of fun to show off and display, so whoever was grading it could look and be like, oh, so this was the idea, this was the final product, and I thought that would be kind of good, kind of show my creative process, how I finalize details with her. Finally, we have Rosie's full, complete character sheet, and oh my gosh, I've been reworking all these character sheets because I decided I need like updated ones since I still draw these characters, and there's a whole reason behind why I wanted to go through and redo all the sheets. I also do the other characters as well. And her gem form here is so different than what I have now. Honestly, looking back, I do not like this form I did for her. She deserves so much better outfit-wise. But it got the point across. I wanted to kind of convey that she's part angel, part devil, which ties into her backstory. So you can also see in one of the drawings of her, she has back scars, and it also ties into when she was a child, her mother ended up forcefully removing her angel wings. This is because her mother's a devil. It was like, oh, you're not going to be like your father. You're going to be a devil like me and not an angel like him. It's this whole thing. I do display it in one of the pieces later on, and that will probably give better context to their relationship. And like with the other sheets, I wanted to show off her personality, so I showed her with different emotions. I also showed off one of her hobbies, and I also showed off her weapon, which was based on the myths with Cupid and Cupid arrows and how they have a golden heart tip for the point. Now we're finally getting into some of the physical pieces. This first one up is Broken Home, which was originally simply a marker, pen, and slightly color pencil shaded drawing. I believe I use colored pencils. It's been a while since I've looked at this. But this is kind of where our story kicks off, and I wanted to first start off with Darcy and kind of show what her childhood was like. Darcy and Rosie are the oldest out of the three characters, so it made sense to start with them. So I kind of showed Darcy growing up at home and how things were broken or not settling right. Her and her sister were often neglected by their father, and this drawing was to depict that in the kind of environment they got stuck living in. This all ties into the adverse childhood experience of neglect and neglectful parenting and how that can later affect an individual. It's also one of those things I feel like isn't always explored in media. Like there might be hints, be like, oh yeah, this child might have been neglected, but I feel like it's never really a huge focus. So I definitely wanted to kind of dive in and explore that. And next up, we have Rosie. I don't remember what I named this piece. It might have been something like Behind the Mask or something like that. That would explain why, if you're looking at what I pulled out of the plastic bag, you're like, oh, why is there just a blank piece, like a blank space in the middle of the page? That's because later on, I ended up taking a real image of my face, editing it to look more like Rosie, kind of like with the eyebrows, and I kind of shaded out my eyes and adjusted the lip color, and used that to make a mask. I wanted the mask to be like very like realistic, but offsetting in the fact that, oh, it's creepy because it's a real photo on a drawing to kind of depict how it's creepily happy or out of place, yet you might not always be able to tell because of how realistic it seems. This is kind of tie in how she hides her depression, her pain, by putting on a smile and acting like everything's fine and acting happy despite all the horrible things that happened to her as a child, which followed her into the rest of her life. Next up, we finally get to dive into Vita. Now, Vita's whole thing is like identity and not knowing identity. Like, who is she? So I wanted to really try to depict that and being like, okay, her parents kind of left her as a child. She was taken in by another woman to be cared for. And at the same time, I wanted to kind of show how Rosie and Darcy kind of connect in the story. Looking back, I definitely wish I would have showed this overlap a little more. I know I had concept sketches that I was like, oh, these would be fun to do to show more of their overlap, but I just didn't have the time to make all those pieces, and I kind of felt like they weren't necessary, but now looking back, I'm like, ooh, I should have showed that this connection was there. I should have made it more obvious that these three characters were intermingled and connected. Continuing on with Vita, I did this really interesting photograph edit where I put on a striped t-shirt and kind of posed and like I was dancing. I was taking like a puppet on a string, but instead of strings, they're chains. The whole thing of Vita is kind of like feeling trapped, feeling like she's locked into whoever she is at the moment, even though she's like, that's not who I am. I feel very locked in place. I want to kind of go out, explore, and figure out who I really am. I think I called this one Trapped in the Mind or Trapped by the Mind, kind of this being her internal struggle. Along with just drawing in the chains that kind of wrapped around my wrists in the photo, I also adjusted my face by making it look like I was wearing makeup. They kind of better make it more cartoony and try to draw the attention less away from it being like me and being more like Vita. This is another one of those where I'm like, oh, I feel like this could have been done better, and maybe I could have figured out a way to kind of imitate the wings she has. But I think at the time I was looking at it, I'm like, I don't know where I would start with adding in wings unless I had just toy feathered wings sitting around. So I worked with what I had, but I think it was really cool with how it turned out. It was honestly a very interesting piece, potentially one of the most interesting in my portfolio. Next up, we have one of my most fun pieces, and you'll see why as we dive into it. I don't remember what I named this one, but the whole emphasis was to show Darcy's struggle with anxiety. I wanted to depict the loneliness felt when you're going through a panic attack, how you feel very isolated, that there's no one there to help, how it just feels like danger's creeping in on all ends. I just displayed the danger with the hands closing in, which, as you saw, were on a separate sheet of paper. It was very tedious to cut those out, but I am so happy with how they turned out in the end. So to kind of convey this loneliness, I used very dulled colors and edited it to add these shadows kind of creeping along the edge, kind of how the hands are creeping in and very much highlighting Darcy curled up there on the floor. Now, prepare yourselves for a very poor transition as I remove the tape holding the first piece of paper, first piece of translucent layered paper on this piece. Now, the cool thing about this piece is that it's actually two pieces in one. So I took the same image and I was like, oh my gosh, I love it both with the piece of paper covering it and doling it out and without. And so when talking to my art teacher, she's like, you know what? You can make those two different pieces. They convey different things. I'm like, you're right. The second one more conveys the panic felt, with all the vibrant colors kind of in your face, and there's too much going on. There's a lot of noise. And I further developed that digitally by adding random scribbles in, really emphasizing the shading and really highlighting the colors, making it all very pop out kind of in your face, kind of like you can't escape from it. because of like all of that, I think it made a really good effect with her dealing with her anxiety that's kind of brought on by growing up in a very neglectful household and feeling like she was trapped and that any second her world could just fall apart. Funny story about this next piece, I realized a day before my portfolio was due that I was an art piece short. So in the span of 2 hours, I went into the bathroom with blue watercolor paint, a little bit of black watercolor paint, a paintbrush, a canvas, and a prayer. And I quickly threw this piece together that depicts Rosie crying and filling bottles of tears. I've always loved the whole bottles of tears metaphor. Like whenever I see it in media, I'm like, yes, that's my thing. That I love that. I eat that up. And so I want to kind of bring that into my own portfolio. And it's just like, boom, that's what I'm going to do. Because it kind of ties in with the sorrow, the depression, all of that. And that's why I used blues, kind of display the sadness. And since Rosie very much hides her emotions, I'm like, it makes perfect sense that she would bottle up her emotions or bottle up her tears and hide them away from the rest of the world. Next up, we have another piece featuring Vita, and this one is kind of like concluding her arc. I used her gem form since that's like your true identity, being like her goal to reach. And so I decided to pick that as her physically reaching up to that form of herself and being able to accept it and be like, this is who I am who I am, kind of thing. To further emphasize this, I decided to utilize color, and as she got closer to her true self, she would gain more color. This is my first time using black paper as my base for any kind of drawing, so it was really fun to kind of figure out what I could do, how well color showed, and kind of just how to work with it. For example, with sketching, you can't use a graphite pencil because then you can't see what you drew. So instead, I had a chalk pencil, and I ended up using that to draw my sketch, which was very interesting because it was weird because if you touched it just right, it was on your finger instead of on the page. Now, last but not least was actually the first piece I created in this portfolio, which was one of the pieces I knew I wanted to draw. It was a scene I've had in my head for years. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get this on paper. And it's basically, well, what it looks like. For the record, I'm not sure what all I'm allowed to say on YouTube, but I think it kind of speaks for itself. That was a huge goal of this portfolio. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to explain anything with words, so I need to explain it with pictures and imagery. I was also kind of able to work in more of those fantasy components with Darcy kind of jumping out of the shadows to try to pull Rosie back. Now, I know you're like, oh my gosh, what happened to them? They're fine. I promise everyone is fine. Everyone is okay. I honestly wanted to make another piece that kind of showed all the characters united at the end in their gem forms as a whole and being like, we've found ourselves and we've found each other and now we can support each other and lift each other up. But time was not on my side, and I looked at that concept sketch I made and I'm like, there's no way I'm getting that done along with these other pieces. But I think it would have been really cool, and I feel like it's the one piece that's missing from this portfolio, and I really wish I would have had the time to make it. But alas, here we are. So that is my whole portfolio. I know I went through it really quick, but I didn't want this video to be too long. So if you have any questions about any of the pieces I did or how I did them or why I went the route I did, I'd love to answer your questions in the comments. So please feel free to leave a comment. I would love to talk about this more. Are there things I would have done differently? Oh, yes, 100%. Like, I don't know, remembering I need 15 pieces instead of 14 pieces total, that would have been a good first step in the right direction. But considering I did all of that and I rushed some pieces and barely managed to crank them out of time and I still scored a 4, this is definitely a portfolio I am super proud of. And I'm also just glad I was able to get such a high score with a cartoony style and kind of beat the trope I see out there where only all the 5s are super detailed, super realistic styles. Ooh! It almost scares you to thinking you need to be this phenomenal realist artist in order to get a 5, and I basically want to prove that's not true. Sure, I got a 4, but I've seen a few rare cartoony portfolios that I've gotten 5, so it is possible. It's just as long as you have a strong theme, you carry it through, and you're very passionate about it and you explore, you can easily pull out a 5. So long story short, quick tips: explore, get weird, try stuff, and do something you love. Like I said before, these were all characters I just had sitting in my back pocket. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to explore them in further detail and work on their stories and draw them. So if you have something like that and you're like, oh man, I have these silly characters, do it. Don't let any mean old art teacher scare you. I bet you it will turn out great. Anyways, I hope this was helpful, especially if you're a 2D AP Studio student right now, and that you were able to get something out of this. Like I said before, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I will happily answer you. And as always, have fun, be wild, and keep creating. You got this.